Okay. Are we getting stupid from how money works? Okay.
We're surrounded by people who can't follow basic instructions, use simple intuition, reason, or even think beyond the next few minutes. Well, you might not be imagining things. There's been a marked rise in cognitive difficulty.
Hey, that's like almost every person in the US right here. Whether or not you want to admit it. I mean, everybody's on their smartphone, dude. Young people, middle-aged people, even old people. Everybody is captivated by the smartphone, okay?
Over just the last decade. If you haven't noticed this decline, well, I might have some bad news for you. The rate of young people reporting trouble learning new things, concentrating, or just thinking has almost doubled over the past 20 years.
Oh shit. Trouble learning new things. Hmm. Difficulty thinking or concentration. So, what does that mean? Well, I think from what I read, gather, I mean, isn't also the diagnosis rates for like ADHD also on the rise, and like also autism? Like those things, like stimulants are being more and more prescribed throughout the years as just time goes on, no? So, trouble learning new things. Yep. You have, well, trouble learning new things. I mean, I think this could be have like multiple reasons, either like with just the symptoms or whatever. I mean, there are so many things that impact your cognitive abilities. I mean, something as simple as just getting enough sleep, diet, exercise, stress levels, financial, emotional, like all this other shit. But like, I don't know. Okay, difficulty thinking or concentrating. Let me see. I mean, it's also like, what's the difference? Learning new things, concentrating. Aren't these like more or less the same thing? Trouble learning new thing, difficulty thinking. Well, what are you thinking concentrating about? Learning new things or simply memorizing things?
But it really shouldn't be like this. For the last 200 years, humans on average have been getting consistently smarter with every passing generation. Around the world, we have more access to information than ever before,
Yeah.
better nutrition, and we are now spending more on education than any point in history.
So while the wait, global poverty reduction has slowed to a near standstill. Wait, let me hear the stat again.
Information than ever before, better nutrition, and we are now spending more on.
So we have better nutrition now. I mean, that's probably right because the life expectancy, I'm doing this all from the perspective of like the United States. The life expectancy is like on the up and up for the most part. Like maybe it's gone down like maybe a couple months or whatever, how they measure it in terms of like 79.6, 79.7, like that point, like it'll go up or down a little bit, but like if you zoom out, like the overall trend is like up.
Education than any point in history.
But
Education than any point in history. But
tuitions rise, salaries don't. Percentage change since 1987 adjusted for inflation. Oh wait, what is this? Public university rates have been going up, so private university rates also have been up. So what does this mean? Versus early career salary versus minimum wage, more or less been the same. Um, yeah. If you have to know a guy, you have to spawn in into like hopefully like a rich or some sort of like family that has money be able to give you the good education. I mean, it is what it is. And it's also kind of funny with like well, this is like the chart stops in like 2015, but like it's 2025, so there's like a 10-year gap from like this till like now. So like, why is public university like a little higher than private? That's kind of curious. Like, why is it separating? Like, is private? I was under the assumption private was more expensive than public university. Since when is public a little bit more expensive than private?
That can only get us so far. Whether you want to blame it on brain rot short-form content, AI that does the thinking for us, the defunding of public education, symptoms of long COVID, or the fact that nobody can get a decent night of sleep anymore, the data is all saying the same thing. We might have already passed peak intelligence, and we are now getting progressively stupider. So then, what happens when we build a world that's too smart for us to use?
I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
How many sides are on a triangle?
Oh man, you just...
It's 3. Oh, true.
I mean, that guy's probably high or something. Homeless people on drugs or like under the influence have been around forever.
Forgot about that.
I went to Harvard.
You went to Harvard?
Yes, sir.
What did you study there?
It's disrespectful and insulting.
Oh wait, what did he say?
It's
Department of Education workers speak out on job cuts. It's disrespectful and insulting.
disrespectful and insulting to be locked out, kicked out, and then cast out.
I guess this is like a public education worker. If you're like a public education worker and you're walking around with like, I don't know if this is real or fake, but it looks like, is this like a diamond necklace or something? I don't know. It's kind of hard to feel sorry for you, dude.
Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electrolytes.
Measuring intelligence is really hard. There are standardized tests to assign intelligence quotients, or IQ, but for most people, there are some problems with reducing someone's mental capacity to a single number. Most IQ tests that are actually performed under properly controlled conditions are done to diagnose suspected learning disabilities or cognitive impairment, which means the sample group is naturally going to be people that already demonstrate impaired mental capacity. Anybody else that actually goes through the effort and expense of completing a controlled condition IQ test is naturally going to be the type of person that cares way too much about it and studies beforehand in validating the results.
Yeah.
IQ tests can give you some useful data though. If someone brags about their IQ, they are an idiot. But with a large enough sample size, some generalizations can still be made. James Flynn was a researcher who collated data which was aggregated over decades to identify the Flynn effect. Since 100 IQ is supposed to represent the median score of a test taker, he noticed that bell curves had been adjusted over time, with large testing groups indicating that subsequent generations were getting smarter.
Oh, wait. So the bell curve was always there. It's just where it falls on the range has been different. So wait, let me see. Average IQ. Early 1930, its average was like 90-ish. 1980, it went up by 10 points, more or less went up to 100. Now 2000s, it went up to like 110. Okay.
On average, a cohort 10 years younger would be 3 IQ points more intelligent than the group that came before them, and this trend continued for the 6 decades he was active.
Ooh.
But even with such a clear trend, there was not one single cause that experts in the field could agree on. Most concluded that it was a combination of factors including more efficient schooling, the reduction in infectious diseases in early childhood development, a more stimulating environment as people moved into larger community centers, the widespread realization that inbreeding was not the best idea, and the fact that we just
less inbreeding. This one gets me every time, dude. Okay, less disease. Yep. More stimulating environments. Okay, so I would say the more stimulating stimulating how? Like mentally stimulating in terms of like learning, or mentally stimulating like, what if you were born in like a poor neighborhood and like you going out and like hearing gunshots, or like you smell like pot like constantly? Like I'm pretty sure those things are pretty stimulating. Or like somebody steals a car and you hear like random like car squeak, like wheel squeaking, and then it just surprises you. Or maybe like you hear people yelling constantly, either your mom or dad or something. you're in a shitty environment. I mean, that's pretty stimulating. Whether or not it's more positive or negative, I mean, that's kind of here or there. Like, I don't know about this one. I mean, but I can understand if this is like your standard like public school, go and then do some like extracurricular activities and shit like that. I mean, I get it. Less inbreeding. I thought this was the fact that the assumption was more inbreeding means I'm gonna keep the smartness in the family is kind of hilarious. This is a pretty funny one. Less lead in the air. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is good. Less lead. I mean, that's good.
Decided to stop putting lead in our gasoline. There are also many experts that simply argue that the data is too unreliable to draw any definitive conclusions over these timeframes. Whether it was one or all of these factors.
Oh yeah, sure, guys. Just put more lead in the paint, more lead in the gas, and then if in order to keep and maintain your current smartness, and improve it, just have sex with your cousins.
It can only get us so far. Most of Flynn's observations ended in the early 2000s, so he wasn't around to see the current decline that researchers are noticing across the globe. But there were a few countries that were ahead of the trend. From 1962 to 1991, scientists studied nearly 750 Norwegian men who completed an intelligence test as part of their mandated military conscription. The scientists noted a statistically significant boom and bust over the measured time period, with average intelligence reverting back to the levels it was over 30 years ago.
Oh,
this
shit.
decline started in 1970, so you might think it disproves the theory of leaded gasoline.
Wait, what was that article? Lead from gasoline blunted the IQ of about half the U.S., study says.
Decline started in 1970, so you might think it disproves the theory of leaded gasoline.
Lead equal bad.
But Norway never actually used it nearly as much as we did here in the United States of small block Chevys. They instead used something called public transport, which primarily ran on diesel or electricity. One of the theories that researchers put forth was that in an advanced economy with education around and access to birth control, dumber people were just having more dumb babies and smart people weren't keeping up.
Okay. Well, this is the whole Idiocracy movie, essentially, this idea. But this is just an opinion. I don't think we're moving towards Idiocracy. I mean, in some, like, everybody can have, like, anecdotal experience in knowing that one person, that one friend, or that one girl or whatever, where it's like all they do is have kids, or all this dude does is just, he just goes around sleeping with everyone and just has kids with a bunch of baby mamas or whatever. And, you know, in the movie, it's like, oh, the smart people only have, like, maybe one kid or two kids, maybe. And then the dumb people are just over there fucking everything that moves. And it's like, oh, they just multiply like rabbits or whatever. But if that was the case, why is it that all the time I see studies and graphs and charts of the birth rates of not only the U.S., but also a lot of other countries, the birth rates are declining. All right. If we go by the logic of most people are either middle to / lower class in terms of financials, and I would say that's at least like what, 90%. 90% of the people are not having kids. So it's the opposite of Idiocracy. Who's having all the kids? All the people that are the haves, the rich people. All right. Because why? Well, they want to build a legacy. They want to build a financial chunk of wealth and be able to distribute it amongst their kids, which they teach XYZ morals, values, ethics, and what they deem to be morally justified and righteous values. And I want to give you all my money and to transfer all of my morals and ethics onto you for the next generation. All right, that's what's actually happening.
They call this dysgenic fertility, but I prefer to call it the idiocracy theory.
Yeah.
However, given Norway's relatively homogeneous and small population, the scientists were able to control for family groups through generations, and the results were the same. Dumb people were having dumber kids, but smart people were also having dumber kids. This meant that the dumbing was coming from the environment rather than being passed down.
Wait, what country was that?
Homogeneous and small population, the scientists were able to control for family groups through generations, and the results were the same. Dumb people were having dumber kids, but smart people were also having dumber kids. This meant that the dumbing was coming from the environment rather than being passed down, which was strange because over this time period, Norway was enjoying large material wealth increases from a sharp increase in oil and natural gas resources.
GDP per capita, current US dollar per Norway is going up. Okay.
Ultimately, the strongest factor that researchers found in the existing population was educational systems that had become overly focused on rigid curricula, distracting TV and media, as well as worse nutrition from overly processed and sugary foods. So yeah, if schools that look like this, color televisions that looked like this, and the occasional fried fish undid decades of worse intelligence gains in Scandinavia, it's time to learn how money works to find out exactly how cooked we are in the age of brain rot content, crumbling education systems, and high fructose corn syrup. This video is sponsored by Shopify, the platform trusted by businesses of all sizes to build, manage, and grow their online store. On this channel, we talk a lot about money, and for a lot of business owners, that means understanding how to take what you're already selling and make it more scalable. That's exactly where Shopify comes in. Shopify helps you build a fully customizable online store with no coding required. You can start with free, professionally designed templates and use the drag and drop editor to make it your own, fast. It also gives you powerful tools to run your business day to day. You can manage your inventory, track orders, connect with customers, and even view analytics to see what's working and what's not. All from one dashboard.
I mean, I don't need a Shopify account to realize that I'm still chilling at some subs and literally nothing's working. But thank you anyway, dude.
If you already have a product or a storefront and you're ready to grow online, head to the link below to start your 3-day free trial with Shopify. You'll get your first 3 months for just $1 each. And when it's time to make the sale, Shopify Checkout and Shop Pay make the process smooth for your customers and faster for you to get paid. Features like one-click checkout and abandoned cart recovery can genuinely move the needle. If you're selling in person too, Shopify Point of Sales syncs your online and retail sales automatically, so you always have accurate inventory and customer info. And if you need something specific, the Shopify App Store is packed with tools to tailor your store even further. Shopify isn't just for new entrepreneurs, it's for established businesses ready to level up. If you already figured out what you're selling, Shopify can help you sell it better. Join Shopify today and enjoy a 3-day free trial and 3 months for just $1 each. Click the link below to get started. Okay, maybe the biggest question is why we are only now noticing a decline in intelligence. There are factors that have increased our intelligence and factors that have made it worse. And for a while,
Ooh, what do we see? Factors that are leading to decreased intelligence. So unleaded petrol, more education, access to information, brain rot, okay, social media, dopamine on demand, social media, misaligned education. Yeah, in terms of like history, I mean, I get what you're talking about, like misaligned education. I get it. Access to information, more education, unleaded petrol, but it's like social media. You got the president saying what is and is not being able to like be taught in schools or whatever. Petrol, I mean, it's whatever. More education. I mean, yeah, sure, but like we can't even decide like what is and what is not like right in terms of like even history. Access to information. Yep, everybody has access to ChatGPT, and everybody has an AI. Like, use my company's AI. No, use my company's AI. Blah, blah, blah. Yep.
while the good stuff was more than compensating for the bad stuff, but that is starting to change. When was the last time you felt bored or even slightly mentally challenged? Probably not for a while, right? Technology has put the world's information in our pocket along with basic tools like a calculator and an automatically updating global map.
Yeah.
I don't want to make myself sound too old here, but in the past, most cars had a big book of streets in the trunk that you had to look through to figure out manually which turns to take to get to a destination.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like I didn't have like to use maps or whatever because I didn't really go anywhere. Like I still live in like the same town. I generally know like the main streets with all the stores are on and shit like that. Not too like I could kind of probably fiddle my way around like some of the residential areas where it's like it's a maze, whatever, just to get back out onto like a main street. Yeah.
It wasn't exactly rocket science, but it took a bit more intuition than plugging a destination into a phone and letting Waze to the wheel.
Yeah.
Researchers have noted that offloading these simple everyday problem-solving tasks means our brains aren't as exercised as much as they were even 2 decades ago. The spike in recorded cognitive challenges amongst 18-year-olds from the Monitoring the Future survey did start around 2012, right as fully capable smartphones were entering the mainstream.
Ooh.
Easily accessible technology started to do the thinking, so we didn't need to. But that by itself wouldn't have actually been a problem. Yeah, nobody these days knows how to read a paper map, but we also don't know how to churn our own butter or read a sundial either. Technology has been making mental skills irrelevant for a lot longer than we have been getting dumber. The difference now is that
I mean, but like, if all of those old technologies are becoming outdated, from like your sundial reference and probably like abacus, yeah, I remember that word, the abacus with the beads, and the paper map, then it's like, couldn't that argument be made for like those technologies becoming more prevalent in the first place as well? So are we getting dumber? Because when those technologies came out, it's like, oh, you need to like count out like all the beads on like a little wooden frame or whatever. Oh, I just go out there and count them. You know, there's like this level of gatekeeping that goes on with the last generation to the new generation in terms of like technology. Whenever the new generation comes out with like a piece of technology, the last generation shits on them because what do you call it? They're just like, oh, you're just doing it the easy way. Back in my day, I had to go out there and count everything by hand or something. Or, you know, in terms of trying to tell the time, it's like, ooh, I could tell it's really hot because I'm out there working all the time. I mean, because like, are we getting dumber? Because we're just automating a lot of just general things that we used to have to do by hand.
mindlessness is the goal. This new wave of technology has not only taken away minor inconveniences that could be overcome with a bit of critical thinking, it's also replaced it with easy, instant contentment.
Yeah.
It's no secret that the competitive meta of the world's largest technology companies is to keep you engaged with their platform as long as possible. Endless scrolling, tailored content.
Endless scrolling? You mean doom scrolling? Tailored content? Yeah, all the social medias do this stuff. And if you leave it up to the market and you just let the free market decide what they want to do, they are choosing to do endless scrolling and choosing to engage in tailored content on demand. That's what they choose. That's the free market. Like a capitalism bullshit thing. Because what's the opposite? I would imagine something like China, where you can only scroll for like, there's an X amount of time that you can scroll and then you can't scroll anymore, versus like, instead of having tailored content, it's like some of their social media is like very science-based, physics-based, and it's like education-based versus like the pretty girl on whatever social media device just doing a little dance, and then surprise, she's got an OnlyFans. Woohoo!
Content on demand, engagement metrics, echo chambers, dopamine loops, time-sensitive rewards, and push notifications.
Jesus, I was talking shit about just the two. You go whip out like 10 more of them. Engagement, yep. Every social media has umpteen billion ways to justify that platform, getting more grants or whatever, staying online, justifying their job because of made up engagement things. How long did they spend looking at this post? They don't even have to touch a button on it. They don't even have to hit up thumb, down thumb, comment, whatever, share, retweet, whatever. Just an engagement metric is just you simply spending time on that thing. The echo chambers. Yep, I mean, this goes along with the tailored content. You are only going to see things that you agree with. Not a lot of the times, because people are not human, or people are not truth-seeking machines, truth-seeking beings. We only want to seek out things that we agree with, even if they are wrong. Dopamine loops. Yep. I mean, everybody is probably aware that they probably watch like a good amount of like just dopey content of like gym fails, like accident fails, like the show Ridiculousness, where they just like go over like random people falling or doing dumb shit. I mean, everybody engages in it, and everybody knows it's like a guilty pleasure, like / vice or whatever. Time sensitive rewards. I mean, yeah, this is like a horrible. This is the most made up bullshit ever from like marketing. If you go on Temu, there's like 22 different timers going on, like, oh, limited time, buy this thing before time runs out, limited quantity. It's like, no one is buying shit, dude. You're just putting the timer up there for some like FOMO shit. And also, this is in video games with their little rotating store. I mean, this is egregious. I never understood what push notifications were. Like, I just never engaged with them because I didn't know what they did. It's like you push for like a notification, and the thing just, when the thing happens, you get a notification on your phone. It's like, oh, I gotta see it now. I mean, I guess
Notifications are just some of the tricks, and it really does work. For user-generated content platforms, the companies themselves don't even need to try that hard. They just push the content that someone else figures out how to keep engaging. As a disgusting, low-life influencer, I am 100% guilty of that myself.
Yeah.
I need that watch time too. For example, I spent hours refining the opening hypothetical question of this video. The one about you feeling like you were surrounded by dumb people. It's unfortunately relatable. It makes you think.
Feeling surrounded by dumb people, it's gonna probably be very dependent on the people you surround yourself with. And also, I don't know, I would probably say your average IQ is probably going to be dependent on like who you surround yourself with. Like if you're surrounded by like a bunch of doctors and like you were born into like a family of doctors, like your neighbors are doctors and shit like that, what are the chances of you also becoming a doctor? Probably pretty high. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but like it's probably going to trend that way. Same thing for like lawyers, or probably like any person that is born into like a family, like let's say like a trade family, like electricians or plumbers, or maybe somebody that was born into a family that has like some sort of family business. Well, you're probably gonna mold your education to be able to like take over the family business or something. It's just usually how it goes. Seldom do you get outliers that try to do like entrepreneurial things of like, I'll go out and make my own business, make something out of nothing. This is going to be my baby. I mean, that stuff is like fine and dandy, but you got to understand when like you choose to do that, like you're an outlier. Like that's not the norm.
And it probably made you feel just a little bit smug. All things that are good for engagement, but are also kind of bad for challenging our minds. Humans are not made to be constantly contented. And if we are, it makes it really hard to give up the easy dopamine to commit to something challenging and not immediately rewarding, like studying, learning a new skill, or just sitting down to get some work done.
Yeah.
AI is shaping up to be the ultimate incarnation of this trend.
Write my master's thesis for me. Make it sound human.
Where people don't have to think about challenging problems.
And while you're at it, make this
just get maximum
picture of my dog.
Output from minimal input.
Like it was drawn by
Now.
Studio Giggly. Studio Ghibli Giggly.
I am not a psychologist, and even though I spoke to a few and read a few papers when putting this video together,
New PIAAC results show declining literacy and increasing inequality in many European countries. Better adult learning is necessary. Okay, so inequality. Wow. The thought of money being the great equalizer is prevalent yet again. Yet some people don't want to acknowledge it. Whatever. Have attention spans been declining? Probably, yeah. I mean, as ADHD and autism go up, I imagine attention span is down stonks. IQ testing as part of the diagnostic process. British, so what is it? Psychological Society. Okay. Flynn effect and its reversal are both environmentally caused. Well, something else in the environment is money. Money's a big influencer in the environment. Who'da thunk?
there are simply better people to discuss the exact mechanisms of brain rot. So instead of making a video about the Cocomelon to Skibbity Toilet to Aiden Ross Pipeline, there is
God.
something else more important to address. What happens when we are too dumb to use a world built by smart people? It sounds like a silly question.
Well, then you can't participate in that world. You can't participate in that society in the same way that someone else can. So, I mean, it's not like you are actively being directly like forced out, but you have to put forth more effort in order to participate, I would imagine.
But it is literally already happening. We are now spending more on college than ever before, and the rate at which people are getting these expensive degrees is also higher than ever since it's become increasingly essential to land basically any job.
That's crazy. Essentially, well, I don't know how true that statement is. So you need a degree to land any job? Well, no. It's just the jobs that these people are going for are just incredibly hard. I would imagine bachelor, master, doctorate. You know, what kind of job are these people going for after they get their bachelor, after they get their master, after they get their doctorate in whatever field? Okay? I mean, trades are jobs, okay? Like sales associate is a job. Crew member is a job. No, you don't need a degree to do that stuff. But, you know, people want to try to put all their eggs in one basket in terms of their education and try to gamble on the fact that hopefully they can get a six-figure plus like salary after they go into like massive debt from the school. I mean, it's just, it is what it is, man.
The result of all of this education is that we apparently have a massive gap in technical skills that young people entering the workforce aren't able to fill and aren't willing to train into. Now, sometimes that's because the pay is simply not worth it, but
Yeah.
they don't like to say that part out loud too much. Okay,
The pay is usually not worth it. The fact that you need a bachelor in XYZ thing, they make it a requirement, is completely, a lot of the times, just not needed. It's just not, because the jobs, the reason they don't need it is just like, if you actually examine what they do, like, they're not doing, like, you probably had to put more work into getting the bachelor than you had to what you do on a day-to-day basis of like a bachelor type job.
so businesses complaining about not being able to fill underpaid hands-on roles is not exactly
Demand remains high for skilled foreign workers as U.S. faces critical. Really? CNBC. Demand remains high for skilled foreign workers. So, what's the implication behind just this first one? Foreign workers that are highly skilled are willing to work for less, because if you go to school in America for the same level of education, you demand more, like for money for your job to try to pay off like your school debt. Is that the implication, CNBC? Tech talent at top companies are unhappy about their compensation and open to pursuing new opportunities. Unhappy about their compensation and open to pursuing. I mean, yeah, you had this whole era. I don't know if we're still in it because I'm not a tech person. I don't have a tech job, but people just working multiple jobs. And instead of trying to work throughout the company and like getting a promotion, it's if you want more money, just do the same thing, just at a different company, and you literally just double your money. Whereas if you just get a promotion, it's only going to be like a 1.01 times multiplier, but you have exponentially more responsibilities. Well, that's stupid. I could just literally 2x my money doing the same thing, working twice as many hours, like at a different company. Just do that. That is way more understandable for someone to do.
Breaking news. But there is a surprising trend emerging from the computer-addicted generations entering the workforce. They aren't that good at using computers. Modern computers have become so refined and user-friendly that people who have grown up using smartphones and iPads aren't as savvy as older generations who grew up using LimeWire and loading mods onto their pirated copy of Age of Empires. Commercial IT tools in most companies are still fairly old and utilitarian. They have a lot more in common with the home computer experience of the 2000s than the smartphones of.
So more people know how to use like the ins and outs of a phone, but less people actually know how to make a phone to begin with, like all the parts and shit. So, okay.
The 2020s. Formal education programs are also not equipping labor force entrants with these foundational skills because they are largely even further behind. A survey conducted by Dell, the computer maker, found that more than a third of Gen Z admitted to not being adequately prepared to use computers in the workforce.
Really, Gen Z has a tech skills gap at work. Here's why. According to a recent study at Dell, 37% of Gen Z said their education did not adequately prepare them with tech skills they would need for their job. Well, I wonder why. Because the technology that you use at like XYZ school is probably going to be different than the programs that you're going to use for your job. Because every job doesn't use the most up-to-date technology. So I would venture to say that most jobs are using like ancient technology. Or like dated, not ancient, but like dated technology. I mean, you still have classes like micro apps that you have to use. Like, there's a section for like Microsoft Word. There's a section for PowerPoint. There's a section for Excel. And then the fourth one where it's like, I forgot what the name of it was, but it's like you learn how to create databases. Jesus, that was like the most, like I took micro apps 1 and 2 in school, and I was just like, this is mind bending. Like the level of, because like you have like this whole like a couple hundred pages of a book, but it teaches you how to make a database, and every little box size like routing thing, input this table into this thing to like plug in all the addresses and like click it and filter it, all that shit. It's like, when am I actually going to do that? I'm never going to get a job that requires me to make a database from absolute scratch. Unless I'm like that magical, like 1 in 5 million Blue Lobster type of person where I actually land that job. 99% of people don't need that. They just don't.
Eventually, this could become a massive problem, because even those lovely user-friendly computer programs rely on a foundation of technical adeptness to build. It's a big challenge from 20 years ago, But some of the most skilled people in the world of technology are now the 50-plus-year-olds that wear socks and sandals and have been working on computers since MS-DOS. Technology companies have made this even worse for themselves, because there is a not-so-secret ageism problem amongst the trendy companies that have actually seen declining numbers of older workers even though the population is getting older overall.
Okay, the tech industry has an ageism problem. Here's why that matters to us all. While younger workers are overrepresented, the proportion of high-tech workers age 40 plus declined from 56% in 2014 to 52% in 2022. While younger workers are overrepresented, age 40 plus declined. So there's a lot of young people in there, but there's not a lot of older people in there. Okay, so what does that mean? What's the assumption? Does that mean it's like, oh, are we coming to like a point in like technology where it's like we're coming to like a plateau, like this type of graph? Where the heck is it? Paint. Are we coming to a point like this where it's like and we're coming to like right here? Like technology is kind of like plateauing off. So all the people that were in like over here at like age 20, they age upwards and they're 40 now and they see this. It's like, well, it can't get much better. And they just decide to like just dip out. Meanwhile, as time goes on, there are still like a lot of like 20 and 30-year-olds trying to get in, but meanwhile, they don't understand that like technology has kind of like plateaued. Is that kind of the vibe?
Now, most of the big tech companies will be fine. They can hire people who have specifically trained to work with technology. But regular companies that have grown used to people entering the workforce with a basic knowledge of computer systems are increasingly running into problems already. And this goes well beyond computers as well. It actually gets way dumber than that. The rush to make everything as user-friendly as possible means less people are reading, choosing to consume purely audio and visual media instead. The Financial Times that wrote,
Which is kind of funny because like books are where I think stories are like really good still. I can't tell you how many times my favorite IP has come out with the latest iteration of either a movie or a TV show, only for it to be completely, utterly destroyed. Meanwhile, the books or the original video games have been like untouched. Because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And yeah, I mean, books are where like all the good shit is, dude.
Wrote the article about moving past peak intelligence, called this a decline towards a post-literate society, a hypothetical society in which multimedia technology has advanced to the point where literacy is no longer necessary or common. So why are we just noticing this now? Well, we aren't. We are just feeling the consequences of it now. All the way back in 1985, Neil Postman, a media professor, published the book Amusing Ourselves to Death, where he spoke about the
Oh, wow. Amusing ourselves to death. Public discourse in the age of show business.
influence of showmanship in public discourse. Basically, the book saw the trend of television consumption taking over from newspapers, and theorized that in the future, the truth would matter a lot less than what narrative was more entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, if that was, I mean, I could have told you that. People would rather choose to be entertained than, like, discover, like, the truth of something.
It would also create a world where the people with the resources and expertise to make things entertaining and easy to consume would have a lot more influence than the people who took the time to report things factually. Again, this book was written in 1985, and ironically, it never actually sold that
If you can still read this, our society is crumbling.
well, because it is quite dense and full of facts and figures. Now, if anybody should have known to present this information in a TikTok dance, it should have been him. But these warnings were largely ignored. Now, this book is still fascinating, and some of the predictions are downright scary. If you
Dang.
want a bit of light horror, I will link a link to it like I always do in the description below.
Light horror.
Postman wrote 2 other books on the subject as well. Technopoly, The Surrender of Culture to Technology, and The End of Education,
Oh,
Redefining the Value of School. These both came out in the early 1990s, so there is a good chance this guy might have been a time traveler. Now, there is one other factor at play here that is a lot more straightforward. Yes, young people might have been blasted by brain rot since birth, but we are also on average simply getting older. Cognitive function naturally drops off as we age, and the average American is now almost 40. As we are living longer lives than ever before, a lot of elderly people well past their mental prime have refused to give up senior positions in government and business.
Oh, yeah.
Watch this video next to find out how we ended up with the senile managing the brain rot. And make
Oh,
sure
Jesus.
to like and subscribe to keep on learning how money works.
Dang, dude. This is another banger. Hot dang. Wait, what were those books? Amusing Ourselves to Death. Books we recommend. Huh. That is pretty crazy. I mean, I like the questions that this dude always asks. They're like, it's always just I don't know, conversational and like philosophical. Yeah, this is another banger, but yeah, keep it up, dude. This stuff is awesome. That's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.